Hey guys, Kanina here. I just want to run you quickly through how to measure yourself when you're comparing your measurements to a sizing chart, and how to measure your garments to work out whether the size you've picked is the one that you should have. So you'll probably have worked out by now that my size charts are based on the garment measurements, not your body measurements, because I feel like that's actually more universal because everyone's body is so different. I prefer to put your garment measurements so you can get a garment that is similar to the one that you're going to purchase, measure it up quickly, takes you less than a minute, and you can then compare that to the one that you want to buy. So let's get started. Show you how to measure your own body measurements, because it is handy to have a good idea of what your measurements are at the main points, which are the bust, the waist, the hips, and around the top of your arm. Now, if you don't have a measuring tape, it is a bit trickier. The easiest thing to do is probably to use some string or a ribbon or something like that that's pliable, and then check those measurements against a ruler. A measuring tape that you use for tools is a bit harder because it's quite hard and it doesn't actually go around your body curves very well. I always have two measuring tapes on hand because I'm constantly losing one. But if you don't sew and you don't have a measuring tape, just find a piece of string and do this same thing. So to measure your bust, these are rough and ready. Obviously, you'd have something more accurate done if you were going to a dressmaker or something. But basically, you want to go around the back of your shoulder blades. You want to go over the largest part of your bust here, and you want to hold it firmly, but not tightly. Like, you don't want to be struggling to breathe. You want to be able to feel it there, check it. I'm only doing this once for the sake of time, but you should always measure everything twice just to make sure. Get your measurement. If you're by yourself, it can be hard to do your arm. I like to tuck it under like that so I can get the tab out. Bring it around the top of my arm there. There. So good. I was so afraid I'd drop this for the video, but I didn't. Measure that again. Try to do it twice. Your hips, these are the ones that people often get mixed up between your hips and your waist. Your waist should be around about where your belly button is. So my belly button's right there. It should be the smallest point there where you have a bit of a dip. I don't really have a waist much, but if I did, this is where it would be. I measure that again. And then your hips is actually around the largest part here. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm going to get up on a step. Right around the largest part of your butt. And your hips here, or if you've got hip dips, right through your hip dips. That's how you measure. The last thing I want to check is often people will try to check the length of their garment and where it's going to sit. When you do that, you need to remember that your body has curves and it's not like a straight block. So when you put on a dress that might be 105 centimeters long, it's not just going to fall straight. It's going to curve over your bust, over your tummy and your hips and your bottom, and it's going to sit over those curves. So you want to put the measuring tape where the shoulder seam is, so right on top of your shoulder there. You want to let it fall naturally over your bust and tummy here. So don't try to pull it straight, just let it hang like a dress would. And then because you can't then bend over at that point because you'll lose the measurement, I hold it there on my thigh, take that bit, and then allow it to fall to the point where I want it to sit. So there, and 105 centimeter dress should sit right on the top of my knee. I hope that makes sense and that it helps you. So that should give you your rough body measurements when you're comparing your body measurements to garment measurements in a size chart. Next, we're going to do garment measurements. Okay, last thing we're going to do is measure your actual garment. So what I want you to do, if you wanted to purchase something, I want you to find one of your favorite tops or dresses in your wardrobe that fits you well in the same type of fabric as the one you're going to purchase. So if it's stretchy, you need to compare it with a stretchy top in your own cupboard. If it's non-stretch, woven cotton, no stretch, you're going to have to compare it with a non-stretch garment. You also need to compare it with the same style of garment. So all of my garments are relaxed fit, which means you need to compare them with a t-shirt that is relaxed fit, not something that is intended to be quite fitted, because they won't have the same garment ease, so the measurements won't be comparable. So just pop your garment down. All of my garment measurements are taken from a garment laid flat, and the measurement is taken across the front. You then double the measurement to get the full garment circumference, but that's so that you can do a comparable measurement. So basically all you want to do to measure the bust as you go from the curve of one underarm to curve of the other. Again, it's always best to do that twice, just to double check that you're doing it in the same place and that it's accurate. You get that measurement, and to get the full garment circumference, just double that. Around the arm as well, you can just measure from here to here, double that to get the circumference around the arm. To get the measurement around the hips, or the shirt's particularly meant to sit around the hips at the bottom, so you just measure along the bottom of a top and double that to get how it will sit around your hips. And the last one we measure is from the shoulder seam, so you do have to find the seam first and measure from that all the way down in a straight line to the hem to get the garment length. And that's from that highest point of the shoulder there, just near the neckline. That's where I usually measure my garments from for the tables. So that's basically what you will do. If you've got a dress like this, which has got a bit of gather, then if you're measuring around the hips, you just need to pull that gather flat at the point where you're measuring it, just to make sure that you're actually getting the full width of the garment. If you're measuring a skirt, they're an elastic waist, and as you can see, the elastic has got plenty of give in it, but you want to measure your waist by holding it without stretching the elastic and going around the entire skirt until you get back to your beginning point. I started on one of the side seams so that I knew where I could stop and measure that. That will give you the waistband size that should be comparable to the one online. So once you've done those measurements, compare those to the garment measurements on my website, and that should give you a really good idea of the size of the garment that you should be ordering. If you're finding it a bit tricky, just use the instant chat function on my website. If I'm online, I will answer you straight away, or otherwise I will get back to you in an email later. I hope that's been helpful. I'd love to hear if there's something that I've missed that you've got questions about still, so just message me or send me an email if you want to know more.